In this lesson, we'll be learning about more plant-like protists, in particular multicellular algae, and these are often called seaweed. So when you've heard of seaweed, it's not a plant, it's a protist, and we'll be learning about them in this lesson. So just as a reminder, a protist is classified more by what it isn't than by what it is. They're not plants, animals, or fungus, so they fit in kingdom Protista. They carry out photosynthesis just like plants do, but they have differences that make them not plants. So our first group of multicellular algae or seaweed is the red algae. They're in phylum Rhodophyta. You don't have to remember that, you just have to remember red algae. Rhodo means red, phyta means plant, so they look like red plants. They are able to live at great depths due to their efficiency in harvesting light energy. Red algae contain chlorophyll A and reddish accessory pigments called phycobilins. And because of these phycobilins, they are able to capture sunlight really efficiently, and so they can live at great depths in the ocean. Many red algae are actually green, purple, or reddish black, depending on their pigments, but because a lot of them are red, we call them red algae. Most of them are multicellular, so that's why they fit in this category. They have complex life cycles, and they lack flagella. They are found from the equator to the Arctic and can be found as deep as 260 meters. That's more than 850 feet. That's deep. Not a lot of sunlight gets down there, but because of their phycobilins and their chlorophyll, they can capture sunlight really efficiently and live that deep. They also don't have centrioles, which plants do. They're part of mitosis machinery. So that's why, another reason they're not plants. Our next group is brown algae. Brown algae is again a protist. It's in phylum Phaeophyta. And they contain chlorophyll A and C, which plants don't have, as well as a brown accessory pigment called fucoxanthin, which gives the algae a dark yellow-brown color. They are the largest and most complex of all the algae. If you've ever been on a beach, you've probably been trapped or walked through brown algae. They often have these little air bladders that help them float up to the surface, which helps them gather a lot of sunlight. And this is what we call seaweed. They are multicellular. Most are marine, living in cool, shallow coastal waters of temperate or Arctic areas, so not a lot in really hot areas of the world. And kelp is the best known example. Kelp looks really green, but it does fit in brown algae. And giant kelp can grow to 60 meters in length. So it's a very large protist. Kelp is not a plant. Seaweed is not a plant. It's a protist, and kelp is a great example of brown algae. Our last group of protists is green algae. They're in phylum Chlorophyta, and green algae share many characteristics with plants, including their photosynthetic pigments and cell wall composition. However, they don't develop from embryos, which plants do. So some scientists think that green algae is a common ancestor to plants. This is what plants diverged from. They have a lot in common with plants. There are unicellular, colonial, and multicellular species of green algae. This is a pretty famous one, Volvox. They live in colonies. They reproduce asexually and sexually, and they can be found in fresh and salt water. So that's multicellular algae, that's seaweed. Red algae, brown algae, and green algae.